Hidden strength. The massive warships of the Corellian Empire darkened Earth's skies as they positioned themselves in low orbit. 27 vessels, each the size of a small city, arranged in perfect formation, a display of power meant to instill fear in the hearts of yet another primitive world about to be conquered. Admiral Vex stood tall on the bridge of the flagship Celestial Dominance, his crimson uniform adorned with medals from 100 victorious campaigns. Reflections of Earth's blue glow danced across his gray skin as he gazed down at what would soon become the newest addition to the Empire's vast collection of subjugated worlds. "Scans complete, Admiral," reported Officer Nera, her slender fingers moving across the holographic console. "No orbital defenses detected. Their technology is remarkably primitive. Internal combustion engines, basic satellite networks, rudimentary nuclear capabilities. They haven't even established permanent settlements beyond their moon." Vex's lip curled into a smile. "How many conquest fleets has the Empire lost to primitive worlds, Officer Nera?" "None, Admiral." "And how many worlds have successfully resisted once the Corellian Empire set its sights on them?" "None, Admiral." Vex clasped his hands behind his back, satisfaction evident in his posture. "Another simple acquisition for the glory of the Empire. Send the standard ultimatum. Give them 12 hours to surrender before we begin demonstration strikes." As the message transmitted to Earth's governments, the planet appeared serene and vulnerable below them. Vex particularly enjoyed this moment, the calm before inevitable victory, when a world first realized its insignificance in the cosmic order. "This world has abundant water resources," Officer Tarek noted, reviewing the scan data. "The Emperor will be pleased." "Yes, and 8 billion potential laborers," added Lieutenant Cora, who oversaw resource acquisition. "Though we'll need to reduce their numbers. Perhaps 2 billion will be sufficient for our needs." Admiral Vex nodded in agreement. "Prepare targeting solutions for their military installations and government centers. We'll begin there once the deadline passes." The bridge crew worked efficiently, mapping Earth's defenses, identifying power centers, and preparing the invasion plan. None showed concern. After all, this procedure had worked flawlessly 63 times before. Meanwhile, across Earth, the alien message reached every government simultaneously. It was brief and chilling. "Surrender within 12 hours or face destruction. Resistance is futile. The Corellian Empire claimed your world." In an underground facility beneath the North Atlantic Ocean, General Sarah Chen reviewed the alien transmission with her international team. The room was filled with military leaders from every major nation, all gathered around a circular table embedded with screens showing the alien fleet positions. "They've positioned themselves exactly where we predicted," said Admiral Petrov, pointing to the display. "Their formation suggests standard military doctrine. Flagship at center, defensive screen around the perimeter." General Chen's eyes narrowed as she studied the enemy positions. "Just as our scientists predicted," she said with quiet intensity. "They're only detecting what we want them to detect." For 15 years, Earth had prepared for this moment. The first alien signals had been detected decades earlier, and rather than broadcasting their discovery, Earth's nations had made an unprecedented decision. Prepare in secret. The world's greatest minds had worked together to develop defenses that would appear invisible to alien scanning technology. Every satellite launched had dual purposes. Every space mission contained hidden objectives. Behind the facade of a planet just beginning to explore space, Earth had built an invisible shield. "They see exactly what we want them to see," General Chen said, satisfaction evident in her voice. "A primitive world with no space defenses, basic technology, and disunited nations." Around the table, representatives from different countries nodded in agreement. The deception had worked perfectly. "Their weapons are charging," reported a technician monitoring the alien fleet. "They appear to be preparing demonstration strikes." General Chen made eye contact with representatives from other nations: Russia, China, the European Union, India, Brazil. Each one nodded in turn. The plan they had worked on for 15 years was now in motion. "They've taken the bait," she said. "Activate Protocol Thunderstrike. It's time to show them what humanity is truly capable of." Throughout the room, officers began issuing commands through secure channels. Deep beneath the oceans, hidden in mountain ranges, disguised as weather stations, Earth's true defenses began powering up. 15 years earlier, Dr. Elena Martinez sat alone in her laboratory, staring at data patterns that made no sense. At first, she thought her equipment was malfunctioning. The signals didn't match any known terrestrial source. After triple-checking her work, she reached for the phone with trembling hands. "Director, I found something you need to see," she told her supervisor. Within days, scientists across the globe confirmed her discovery. Earth was receiving signals from deep space, not random cosmic noise, but structured transmissions that could only be artificial. The revelation was kept from the public as world leaders secretly gathered to assess the situation. In an underground bunker beneath Geneva, representatives from rival nations sat together, united by a common fear. "These signals contain tactical information," said the American representative. "Coordinates, fleet movements, conquest plans. And they mention Earth specifically," added the Chinese delegate. "These are not friendly greetings." For the first time in human history, countries that had pointed weapons at each other for decades now faced a threat that made their differences seem trivial. The Brazilian president stood up. "We have two choices. We can announce this discovery and create global panic, or we can prepare in secret." Operation Starshield was born that day, humanity's greatest secret and most ambitious project. Every participating nation contributed their best minds and resources. Instead of racing each other to the stars, Earth's nations worked together to build defenses. Dr. Martinez led the technology division. Her breakthrough came when studying fragments of an alien probe discovered in the Indian Ocean. She discovered how to create quantum displacement fields, energy shields that could bend both light and force. The beauty of these shields, she explained to military officials, is that they remain invisible until activated. To outside observers, they'll appear as nothing more than atmospheric distortion. While her team developed the shield technology, Commander Jason Reeves created Earth's counteroffensive capability. A former fighter pilot, he understood the importance of rapid response forces. "Our enemies will have space superiority," he told his international team. "So we must think differently. We need weapons that can strike from hiding, from directions they won't expect." Reeves's solution was an army of nanoswarms, billions of microscopic machines that could form themselves into larger weapons or infiltrate enemy systems from within. His pilots trained in virtual reality chambers hidden inside what appeared to be ordinary research facilities. On the surface, Earth continued as normal. Nations still argued publicly. Militaries still conducted exercises against each other, and space programs advanced at their expected slow pace. But beneath this carefully maintained facade, humanity prepared for war. Weather satellites carried shield generators. Abandoned mines housed weapon launch facilities. Ordinary communication arrays concealed powerful targeting systems. Earth created the appearance of division, while secretly achieving unprecedented unity. Now, 15 years later, as the Kryllian ships prepared their weapons, Commander Reeves, now gray-haired but sharp as ever, addressed his pilots in a facility deep beneath the Arctic ice. "Today we face the enemy we've prepared for all these years," he said to rows of men and women seated at control stations. "You've trained for this moment since you were recruited. Our defenses are in position, hidden in plain sight." On their screens, they could see the alien fleet, weapons powering up. Energy readings spiked as massive cannons prepared to fire. Reeves's voice remained calm. "Remember your training. Wait for their first move, then execute Pattern Valkyrie." Similar scenes played out in command centers across the globe, beneath the Himalayas, inside hollowed-out mountains in North America, within the bedrock under African deserts. Earth's defenders sat ready, fingers hovering over controls, waiting for the moment to reveal their true strength. In the primary command center beneath the Atlantic, General Chen watched the main display as the Krillian vessels moved into attack formation. Her eyes narrowed as targeting solutions appeared on the screen. The aliens were aiming at military bases, power stations, and major cities. A junior officer looked nervous. "General, shouldn't we activate defenses now? They're about to fire." General Chen shook her head firmly. "Not yet. Let them fire first. Let them think they have the advantage." She turned to Dr. Martinez, who stood beside her. After 15 years of work, the moment of truth had arrived for both of them. "Your shields will hold?" she asked quietly. The physicist nodded, her eyes reflecting the screen's glow. "They'll hold, General, and the aliens won't know what hit them." As the first energy beams began to descend from the Krillian ships, humanity's hidden defenders tensed, ready to spring the trap they had prepared for a decade and a half. Earth was far from defenseless, and the invaders were about to learn this lesson the hard way. The counterattack. On the bridge of the celestial dominance, tension filled the air as the crew prepared to demonstrate their power to the primitive Earthlings. Admiral Vex stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the main display with satisfaction. The first lesson to new conquests always needed to be memorable, a show of force that would break the will to resist. "Targeting complete," announced Officer Nera, her fingers moving across the glowing control panel. "Demonstration strikes aimed at uninhabited areas as per protocol. We've selected the Sahara Desert, Siberian tundra, and Antarctic ice shelf." Admiral Vex nodded, savoring the moment. 63 worlds had fallen before him, and Earth would be no different. Fire. The massive energy cannons of the Krillian fleet discharged simultaneously. Brilliant green beams sliced through Earth's atmosphere, racing toward the planet's surface. The bridge crew watched, expecting to see massive explosions and crater formation, the standard results of their weapons. Instead, something extraordinary happened. As the beams neared their targets, shimmering walls of energy suddenly appeared, intercepting the attack. The energy weapons didn't explode against these barriers. They were simply absorbed, like water into a sponge. "What is this?" Vex demanded, his composure cracking as the readings on his display made no sense. He had never seen defensive technology like this. Increase power. Fire again. Officer Nera frantically adjusted the weapon controls. "Sir, our sensors showed no defensive installations. This is impossible." Before the cannons could recharge, the celestial dominance violently lurched sideways. Vex was thrown against a control panel, pain shooting through his shoulder. Around him, crew members fell from their stations. "Status report," he shouted. Lieutenant Tarek struggled to read his displays as they flickered. "Sir, something is interfering with our gravity generators. We're losing stability." Across the invasion fleet, Krillian vessels began to spin out of control. On the main screen, Vex watched in horror as his perfectly arranged formation dissolved into chaos. One destroyer was turning upside down, its engines firing randomly. Another was moving in tight circles, unable to maintain course. "We're being attacked," shouted Nera. "Small devices, billions of them, attaching to our hulls and disrupting our systems." The ship's security feed showed tiny objects swarming the fleet, each smaller than a grain of sand, moving with precision and purpose. They attached themselves to critical points on the hulls, their nanoscale components working in concert to disable the mighty warships. "Impossible," whispered Vex as he watched 3 of his destroyers collide and explode in a brilliant flash. Debris scattered across space, some pieces striking other ships and causing further damage. In the command center beneath the Atlantic Ocean, General Chen watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. Around her, officers monitored different aspects of Earth's counterattack. "Shields holding at 98% capacity," reported one officer. "Their weapons are powerful, but our quantum barriers are absorbing the energy exactly as Dr. Martinez predicted." On the main screen, they could see the Krillian fleet in disarray. The NATO swarms were performing perfectly, attaching to the alien ships and creating localized system failures that the enemy vessels couldn't counteract. Phase 2, ordered General Chen. Activate the orbital platforms. Hidden weapons platforms revealed themselves. What had appeared to be inert satellites and space debris suddenly came to life. Hundreds of small craft emerged from concealment, their engines glowing as they moved to surround the invading fleet. Commander Reeves led the attack from his control station. His hands moved confidently across the interface as he directed Earth's forces. All squadrons, execute attack pattern Delta. Target their weapons systems first, then propulsion. Earth's defense craft moved with impossible speed and precision. They were small compared to the massive Krillian warships, but they carried weapons designed specifically for this moment. Graviton disruptors that could tear through the alien shields, quantum torpedoes that could bypass conventional defenses. Back on the Celestial Dominance, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. Half the bridge consoles had gone dark, and emergency lighting bathed the crew in an eerie red glow. "Sir, we've lost contact with 8 destroyers and 4 cruisers," reported Lieutenant Tarek, his voice shaking. "And now we're detecting new energy signatures from orbit. They have hidden weapons platforms." Admiral Vex gripped a railing to stay upright as the ship continued to shake. "Impossible. They're primitives. How could they hide such technology from our scans?" Officer Nera looked up from her console, her face pale. "Sir, they wanted us to think they were primitives. This was a trap." A sudden impact rocked the flagship. Warning alarms blared throughout the ship. "Direct hit to our port side," shouted Tarek. "Some kind of phase-shifted weapon. It bypassed our shields completely." Another explosion shook the ship. The main viewport cracked, emergency force fields immediately deploying to prevent decompression. "Sir, our weapon systems are offline," Nera reported, frantically trying to reroute power. "Engine control is failing. We're being targeted systematically." Vex stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His mighty fleet, the pride of the Krillian Empire, was being dismantled piece by a world that was supposed to be defenseless. How could this be happening? On his screen, he could see Earth's attack craft swarming around his vessels like insects. But these were no primitive machines. They moved with impossible agility, their weapons cutting through Krillian defenses as if they weren't there. "Sir," Tarek said quietly, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth." Admiral Vex straightened his uniform, wincing at the pain in his shoulder. Even in defeat, he would maintain his dignity. "Put it through." The main screen flickered, and General Chen's face appeared. Behind her stood Dr. Martinez and Commander Reeves. They did not look like representatives of a primitive species awaiting conquest. They looked like victors. "This is General Sarah Chen of Earth's Unified Defense Command," she said, her voice steady and confident. "Your attack on our world has failed. Your fleet is crippled. You have 2 options. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. You have 5 minutes to decide." Vex's mind raced. This wasn't possible. The scans had shown a pre-space civilization, barely able to reach their own moon. Yet they had just outmaneuvered and outfought the most powerful fleet in known space. "How?" he managed to ask. "Our intelligence indicated." "Your intelligence saw what we wanted you to see," General Chen replied. "For 15 years, we've prepared for this moment. We detected your communications, analyzed your technology, and built our defenses accordingly." Vex felt a chill run down his spine. 15 years. They had been watching the Empire, studying its weaknesses, all while pretending to be helpless. 4 minutes remaining. "Admiral," Chen said calmly, "what is your decision?" Throughout the bridge, the remaining officers looked to Vex. In 63 campaigns, he had never faced defeat. The concept was alien to him, but the evidence was undeniable. The burning wrecks of his vessels, the disabled systems on his flagship, the confident faces of the humans on his screen. He began, then squared his shoulders. "I surrender my fleet and request mercy for my crew." General Chen nodded. "Wise choice. Power down your remaining weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with immediate destruction." As the transmission ended, Vex slumped into his command chair. How would he explain this to the Emperor? A primitive world that wasn't primitive at all. A simple conquest that had turned into the Empire's greatest defeat. "Sir," Officer Nera said quietly, "how could they have developed such technology without our knowledge? The Empire monitors all developing worlds." Vex stared at the view screen, where Earth's defensive platforms were now clearly visible, their stealth systems deactivated. "They knew we were coming," he said slowly. "They knew, and they prepared. And they let us walk into their trap." In that moment, Admiral Vex realized a truth that would soon shake the foundations of the Corellian Empire. Humanity was not just another species to be conquered. They were something new, something dangerous. A species that could unite against a common threat, that could keep secrets on a planetary scale, that could leap forward technologically when necessary. 3 weeks later, General Chen stood at a podium before the United Nations General Assembly. The revelation of the alien attack and humanity's successful defense had fundamentally changed Earth forever. Ancient rivalries seemed petty in the face of cosmic threats. The secret cooperation that had saved Earth was now being formalized into permanent institutions. "For 15 years, we worked in the shadows to protect our world," she told the assembled delegates and the billions watching worldwide. "Now we must step into the light. Earth is no longer alone in the universe, and we have proven ourselves worthy of respect." Behind her on the stage sat Dr. Martinez and Commander Reeves, along with other key figures from Operation Starshield. Beside them, in restraints but treated with dignity, sat Admiral Vex, now an unwilling ambassador from the Corellian Empire. "The technology we developed to defend ourselves will now propel us to the stars," Chen continued. "But we go not as conquerors like the Corellians, but as explorers and diplomats. We have learned that unity is our greatest strength, and we will carry that lesson forward." In orbit above Earth, the captured Corellian vessels were being studied by international teams of scientists. The knowledge gained would accelerate human development by centuries. Already, plans were being drawn up for Earth's first interstellar missions. And throughout the galaxy, word was spreading. The Corellian Empire, feared for generations, had suffered its first major defeat, and the species responsible was one that no one had taken seriously before. As General Chen concluded her speech to thunderous applause, Admiral Vex watched with a mixture of humiliation and grudging respect. His defeat had been total, but he had learned something valuable about this species called humans. They appeared weak until threatened. They seemed divided until faced with a common enemy. They looked primitive until revealing their true capabilities. And they had accomplished something no other species had managed in the long history of the Corellian Empire. They had earned respect through strength. As the delegates filed out of the assembly hall, Vex was escorted back to his secure quarters. Through the window, he could see New York Harbor, where human ships sailed alongside what appeared to be ordinary cargo vessels, but which his trained eye recognized as disguised weapon platforms. The humans were still hiding their strength, even now. It was their nature, apparently, to keep their true capabilities concealed until needed. Vex shuddered slightly. The Emperor needed to know the truth. Earth wasn't just another world to be added to the Empire's collection. It was something altogether new in the galaxy, a world of deception and surprising strength, of cooperation disguised as division, of primitive appearance masking advanced capability. And now they were coming to the stars, awakened and alert, warned of the dangers by the Empire's own failed attack. Vex had not just lost a fleet. He had created a new power in the galaxy, one that thought differently than any species the Corellians had encountered before, one that had defeated the undefeatable Empire not through superior numbers or technology, but through patience, deception, and unity of purpose. The humans had a saying he had learned during his captivity: "Don't judge a book by its cover." As Vex contemplated the future of his empire and this new human threat, He realized too late what those words truly meant. The Empire had judged Earth by its cover, and the cost of that mistake would echo across the stars for generations to come.